it's funny because Jason, as you well know, and we've experienced it here in the conversations with everyone over the last several weeks, that since Caleb Williams decided to hit the transfer portal, there is that section of the fan base that can't get enough talking about Caleb Williams, even if they don't even think that he's possibly going to come back to Oklahoma. They just want to talk about it all the time, either rail on him or whatever. Then you got your end of the fan base that they're sick of it. They don't want to talk about him. Good riddance, gone. But that's not necessarily the case. He's still relevant to the Oklahoma discussion. I'll give my little slice of it before you can take off on where we stand right now. And that's that I know better than to assume these things, but I all but assumed that when he entered the transfer portal that USC had a big lead in this thing just because of the connection to Lincoln Riley, and that they suddenly then had two of their quarterbacks hit the transfer portal. The interesting twist in this recently is that Mario Williams, who was the guy that was supposed to be following Caleb Williams as a tandem deal, well, he has committed to USC. So he's taken that step, and Caleb Williams is still unsigned.
It's such a bizarre situation, Mark. I'm with you on the outside looking in immediately when he hit the portal. I mean, you just kind of had the assumption that USC probably led. Yeah, granted, he was, I think, entertaining discussions with other programs and things like that. Uh, but but yeah, no, I thought it was a foregone conclusion, and especially when Mario Williams went to USC, kind of the same thing. So here's what I know from a factual basis, on Caleb Williams. I've heard from multiple sources that he did not love the visit to USC. I think specifically from a not really from a logistical perspective, but more so from just kind of looking at um, everything around everything around the program, facilities and things like that. I even heard from a few sources as well that he even went so far to say he hated it. So I mean, I think I think it kind of comes down to, I mean, do you ignore that stuff around you and and focus on playing football and getting to the next level, or does the other things that surrounding the program really, how much of a difference does that make? So I those are the things that I've heard that I think is factual. I think I believe that he's meeting with Oklahoma today, from what I've understood. And I don't know the extent of that meeting. I've kind of heard some things that's really just more of a more kind of a foundational meeting to say, okay, I appreciate everything that you guys have done for me, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm moving on. But Mark, I think the most interesting part of this whole story is, again, from multiple people that I've talked to, Caleb doesn't necessarily. I'm not convinced that he wants to leave. I'm more a Sooner, and he wants to continue, continue in this program. But I've heard there's a lot of people around him, including his dad, that really doesn't want him. Um, that really doesn't want him still to be at Oklahoma. They want him to move on to USC. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what wins over, and I think you compare, you try to look at comparisons where some of these kids' parents just kind of get in the way of what they need to do. I even heard, I heard from some confirmed sources yesterday that Caleb's dad Carl reached out to Oklahoma president and just asking, "Hey, I haven't heard anything from you in a week or so. Where's the love?" So I mean, if it's is it a bidding war, or is it one of those things? I mean, if it's a bidding war, Oklahoma, I do know that they have rolled out a very significant NIL package for him. I know that to be factual. I don't know that it's better than what USC has rolled out. I would venture to say it probably isn't, but it's something that's very significant. So at the end of the day, I still expect him to go to USC. However, some of the things that I'm hearing just about his internal desires is very interesting. So just like the Dart situation, I don't really know which way this will go. I mean, I'm still heavily like 95% feel that he's still going to move on to USC when it's all said and done. But at the same time, these things are crazy, so you never know, what's going to happen. And I think there was some comments about, what does that look like for Dylan Gabriel coming in? He came in knowing that it was a risk. He came to Oklahoma knowing that he could possibly have to battle Caleb Williams for a job, or even Jackson Dart, or whoever Oklahoma might would have brought in. So I think that's he knew that risk that was going to be part of that situation coming in. So I don't think that really affects him. Obviously, he's at the point where he's not going to be able to leave, at least not immediately, if Caleb Williams comes back. So it'll be something to keep an eye on. I think by the time we talk next Wednesday, we'll have a better idea of what that quarterback situation is going to look like, because you have to expect that whether it's Dart coming to Oklahoma, whether it's Dart going to Ole Miss, whether it's Caleb Williams going to USC, or wherever it is that he ends up being, they would want to be in place by that February 1 date, so that they could participate through in everything going on in the spring.